Let's check in with Joseph Lindsley in Ukraine.
Pretty often when a Russian ship does sink in the Black Sea, the Kremlin says, oh, it was an internal fire in the kitchen or someone was smoking.
Joe. Little fucking Joe Lindsley.
Joe Lindsley is quickly becoming an American treasure in broadcasting.
Welcome to Ukraine Bank.
А над кораблем байрактари кружляли, хтось закурив і там сталися пожари. Гей, окупанти, куріть, не куріть, ваш корабель все одно згорить.
This is music sent to us from Ukraine, and Joseph Lindsley, I'm glad you're still into music this morning with Kyiv under missile attack. Tell us about this song and about what's happening where you are now.
Bob, good afternoon from Kyiv. We have reports of Russian missile launches, but no targets yet here in Kyiv. And so, especially during those moments when Ukraine is under one of these big attacks, it's always good to have some good music. And this is from Ukrainian band Spiv Brativ, or Singing Brothers. And I don't know how many of you got into that sea shanty phrase during the pandemic. There was a moment when everyone was in America was singing these shanty songs. And this is such a song. And Spiv Brativ, the Singing Brothers, made this song in order to have a celebratory tune each time Ukraine has a major success in the Black Sea. And, while, as I'm always trying to, when we see that whenever there's negative headlines, there's usually also some good news happening. And as we talked about earlier this week, Ukrainians struck yet another major ship, the Caesar Kunikov, in the Black Sea. And they've been hitting a Russian warship almost once every 2 weeks now. And really since August of last year, Ukrainians have been sort of month by month causing significant destruction to the Black Sea fleet. And it's important to note because it was a month before that, in July 2023, that's when that grain deal expired. That it was brokered by Turkey and the United Nations, where Russia agreed so benevolently to give a safe passage to grain ships through the Black Sea. And once that deal expired, immediately grain prices skyrocketed, and for a while, it was very hard for Ukraine to export anything by the sea. But Ukrainians have, especially using naval drones, have been able to, put a significant hurt on Russia's navy. And now they're exporting more grain through the Black Sea per month than they did when they had that deal with Russia. Proving that, by working hard, it's better than negotiating simply to stop Russia. And this is I think it's extraordinary because the other big news is that Russia today, we have so much news today, but Russia announced today that they dismissed the leader of the Black Sea Fleet. Many people think that he was already killed in the Ukrainian strike some time ago. We don't know. We don't have good information on that. One thing we do know is that Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has died. The death by Putin, it seems, died in an Arctic prison. And Navalny is a complicated figure for many here in Ukraine. He was a Russian nationalist, and he was ambiguous a lot of times on whether or not on the idea of Ukraine, even though he had a Ukrainian grandmother, and was ambiguous on the question of Crimea. But he was Putin's only serious threat in Russia, going back to the year 2000. And now he's dead in prison. In 2021, President Biden said to Putin, if Navalny dies in prison, there's going to be a high price to pay. We'll see what kind of response there might be. And Navalny's death is, again, it's always hard to know about any information that comes out of Russia. But we look at anyone who seems to have challenged Putin, whether it's Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner group, and then was killed in that plane crash, or Navalny now killed in prison. It's a clear message that you do not cross Putin. And there's another political prisoner in a country neighboring Russia that gets neglected in a lot of these stories. Mikhail Saakishvili. He was the president of Georgia, a small, beautiful nation on the Black Sea and the Caucasus Mountains in the early 2000s. And he really led a lot of innovation in Georgia a country that the people there call Saakashvili. I visited there many times, and he brought reforms, free market, and restoring Georgian culture after a century of decimation by the Soviets. And actually, Saakashvili, the former president of Georgia, when Russian sort of oligarchs and political forces began to take over the Georgian parliament, Saakashvili came to Ukraine, and he was governor during those very innovative years after the Revolution of Dignity in 2014. The former Georgian prime minister was governor of Odessa region here in Ukraine and working to fight corruption. And he was a bit of a wild character, and he went back to Georgia, and now he's in prison. I just saw a video of him, and he doesn't look like himself. I mean, he looks, in the same, just languishing, and it looks like a different person. He's so frail. And he spoke a couple days ago. He gave a warning as we're looking at the, Congress, the Senate passed a spending bill that included money for Ukraine. The House has refused to do so, and now they're on recess until the 28th of February. And so with that background, Mikhail Saakisvhiili, who, unlike Navalny, Mikhail Saakisvhiili has stood for Ukraine very clearly. And he said these words. He was speaking to Congress directly. Many of those people he knows due to his time in Washington. And he said, please assist Ukraine, and please don't abandon Ukraine. This is very important, and I beg you. From my imprisonment under the Russian regime influenced by Moscow, and as Putin's personal political prisoner, I beg you as a Ukrainian national, which he is, and as one of the conscious allies in the United States for many years in this region, please assist Ukraine. And then Saakashvili finishes speaking very frailly from his jail cell in Tbilisi. If Ukraine loses, then the world loses, and America loses, because I know Putin better than Tucker Carlson. I have met Putin dozens of times, and he is America's main hater. And so that's words of someone who very soon could die in prison, just as Navalny seemingly has today.
The statement, Joseph, from the Russian prison service is that he died after a walk. He's said to have lost consciousness. And, with all the people falling out of windows and being poisoned there, I'm thinking that interview with Tucker Carlson and Putin, you didn't see a coffee cup on the table. So, not even Tucker was going to have a drink. But it's incredible. I mean, and there's a fantastic documentary on Navalny. You can Google it and find it on one of the streaming services. There was a great 60 Minutes piece on him and a terrific documentary that I think we all need to watch now.
Indeed, but I would say Ukrainians were skeptical even of that documentary, which captivated Hollywood and helped people ignore Ukraine during that time. And so there's deep skepticism of Navalny, but appreciation for anyone who would stand up to Putin and obviously risk his life. And because I'm monitoring the reports of what might be coming our way, I didn't mention that song we were listening to. The words say, "Hey, occupiers, don't smoke, your ship will burn." Because every time, or pretty often when a Russian ship does sink in the Black Sea, the Kremlin says, "Oh, it was an internal fire in the kitchen," or someone was smoking, even though it's Ukrainian drones that take it down. And so I'll keep listening to that song as we right now just get reports that several Russian bombers, the Tu-95s, have taken off from the airbase, named for Karl Marx's best friend, by the way. So a communist-named airbase, several bombers have taken off and are approaching position to launch cruise missiles throughout Ukraine.
And it was just yesterday that we marked an anniversary. It was on February 15th of 1989 that the Soviet Union announced the last of its troops had left Afghanistan after more than 9 years of military intervention. That seems like a really long time ago now, doesn't it, Joe?
A long time ago, and yet time seems the same. I mean,
yeah.
Here we are, we're dealing with the Soviet Union under a different name,
Exactly.
with people dying as political prisoners, and now the largest country in Europe at this very moment under missile attack.
Hope you stay safe this weekend, and we'll connect Monday.
Thank you, Bob. Until Monday.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Що сказав?
Well, which side are you on? На чиїй ти стороні? Come on now. Oh, which side are you on? На чиїй ти стороні?